When you hit a losing streak, every instinct you have tells you to change something. Change the strategy, change the time frame, change the indicator, add a filter, remove a filter, switch to a different market. And every one of those instincts is wrong. They are not just wrong, they are the exact impulse that keeps you trapped in a cycle of inconsistency that will follow you for your entire trading career. Because the problem was never the strategy. The problem is that you never gave any strategy enough trades to prove whether it works. Let me tell you what actually happens when a trader hits a losing streak. I have watched this unfold more times than I can count. You take 3 trades, they lose, you start to doubt, you take a 4th trade, and you hesitate on the entry. You get in late, the stop is wider than it should be, and it loses too. Now you are not just doubting, you are convinced something is broken. So you start adjusting, you add a confirmation indicator, you tighten your criteria, or you abandon the strategy entirely and go searching for a new one. You find one that looks promising, you take 3 trades with it, and 2 of them lose. So you adjust again, or you quit again. And the cycle repeats, week after week, month after month. You have traded 10 different strategies, and not one of them has gotten more than a handful of trades before you pulled the plug. Here is the question I want you to sit with. How would you know if any of those strategies actually had an edge? The answer is you would not. You cannot. Because you never gave any of them a large enough sample to produce a statistically meaningful result. You treated every small cluster of losses as a verdict, when in reality it was just noise. Random variation in a system you never let run? Mark Douglas identified this as one of the most destructive patterns in all of trading. The inability to let an edge play out over a series of trades because the emotional pain of individual losses overrides the intellectual understanding of probability. He understood that traders do not fail because they lack good strategies. They fail because they cannot psychologically endure the losing trades that are a natural, inevitable, mathematically required component of any winning strategy. And that is what the 9-trade reset is designed to fix. Now, let me hold up a mirror to you, because I need you to recognize yourself in this pattern before the solution will mean anything. Think about the last time you changed your approach. Was it after careful analysis of 100 trades? Was it after a structured evaluation of your win rate, your expectancy, your risk reward over a meaningful sample? Or was it after 3 losses in a row? 4, 5? Be honest. You changed because it hurt. Not because the data told you to. You changed because losing felt like evidence. And the reason it felt like evidence is that you have a belief buried so deep you probably do not even recognize it, that a good strategy should not produce consecutive losses. That if your approach is correct, the wins should come regularly. That losing streaks means something is wrong. That belief is false. Completely, dangerously, destructively false. Any strategy with a 60% win rate, which is a very good strategy, will produce strings of 3, 4, even 5 consecutive losses on a regular basis. Not occasionally, regularly. That is how probability works. It is not smooth, it is lumpy. The wins cluster and the losses cluster, and the clusters mean nothing about the underlying edge. They are just the texture of randomness. But you do not experience them as randomness. You experience them as failure, as proof, as a signal that you need to act. And that experience, that emotional misinterpretation of normal statistical variance, is the real edge nobody talks about. Because the trader who can sit through a cluster of losses without changing anything, without flinching, without tinkering, that trader will capture the edge that everyone else abandons. Mark Douglas built his entire approach around this principle that your results over any small number of trades are meaningless, and that the only way to know if you have an edge is to execute your method consistently over a sample large enough for probability to express itself. The 9-trade reset is the simplest, most practical tool for doing exactly that. And today I am going to give you the complete method. Here is the lie you have been operating under, and it is a lie that the entire trading education industry reinforces. You have been told that when your trading is not working, the answer is more knowledge, a better strategy, a new indicator, a different course. You have been told that the gap between where you are and where you want to be is an information gap, but it is not. The gap is a behavioral gap. You already know enough. What you do not know is how to stay with what you know long enough for it to work. Let me explain why 9 trades. This is not an arbitrary number. A single trade tells you nothing. It is a coin flip. 3 trades tell you almost nothing. The variance is enormous. But 9 trades, executed with identical rules, identical risk, and identical criteria, begin to form a pattern. Not a definitive one, but a meaningful one. 9 trades give you enough data to evaluate whether you executed with discipline, whether your emotional state interfered, and whether the basic structure of the strategy is viable. It is not a full statistical sample, but it is what I would call the minimum viable evaluation, the smallest number of trades that can tell you something useful about both the system and yourself. And the power of the 9 trade reset is not just analytical, it is psychological. When you commit to 9 trades, when you tell yourself, I will take the next 9 setups exactly as planned, no modifications, no skipping, no adjustments, you create a container, a bounded space, and something remarkable happens inside a bounded commitment that does not happen inside an open-ended one. Fear decreases because you are not asking yourself to be disciplined forever. You are asking yourself to be disciplined for 9 trades. And 9 trades is something your brain can tolerate. So let me give you the method. Exactly. Step by step, the first element of the 9 trade reset is the pre-commitment contract. This is non-negotiable. Before you begin the 9 trades, you write down in actual writing, on paper, or in a document, not in your head, exactly what you are committing to. You write the strategy name. You write the setup criteria. You write the entry rules, the stop loss rules, and the target rules. You write the risk per trade 1 to 2%, fixed, no exceptions. And then you write this sentence at the bottom. I commit to taking the next 9 trades that meet these criteria exactly as written, without modification. I will not adjust my rules during the 9 trades. I will not skip a valid setup. I will not add risk or remove risk. I will evaluate only after all 9 trades are complete. Sign it, date it. This is not theater, this is architecture. You are building a structure that your future self, the scared, impatient, emotionally reactive version of you that shows up during a losing streak, cannot easily escape from. You are making a promise to yourself while you are calm so that you have something to fall back on when you are not. I know what you are thinking. You are thinking this is excessive, that you do not need a written contract with yourself. But I want you to notice that thought, because it is the same voice that tells you just this once when you are about to break a rule. It is the voice of the part of you that wants to keep the exit door open, that wants flexibility, that wants the option to bail when it gets uncomfortable. And that exit door is the one you always walk through. Closing it in writing before the pressure arrives is the only way to keep it closed. The second element is the execution log. During the 9 trades, you track each trade with exactly 5 data points. Not 12, not 20, 5. 1. Did the trade meet your setup criteria? Yes or no? 2. Did you enter at your planned entry or did you deviate? 3. Did your stop remain where you placed it or did you move it? 4. Did you exit at your planned target or stop or did you exit early or late? 5. What was your emotional state during the trade? Rated on a simple scale, calm, slightly anxious, very anxious, or panicked. That is it. Notice what is not on this list, profit or loss. That is intentional. During the 9 trade reset, you do not track P&L, you track execution. Because the entire purpose of the reset is to separate 2 variables that traders constantly conflate: the quality of the strategy and the quality of the execution. If you track P&L during the 9 trades, it will contaminate your evaluation. A string of losses will make you doubt the strategy when the real problem might be execution. A string of wins will make you confident in the strategy when the real gift was luck. Removing P&L from the tracking forces you to evaluate the only thing you can control: your behavior. The third element is the emotional containment protocol. This is the part that separates the 9 trade reset from simply taking more trades. During the 9 trades, you are going to feel things. After a loss, you will feel the pull to modify your rules, to add a filter, to tighten your criteria. After a win, you might feel the pull to take a trade that is outside your criteria because you are feeling hot. Both of these pulls are your old identity trying to reassert itself, and you are going to let them pass. Here is the specific practice. After each trade, before you do anything else, you sit for 2 minutes, not at your charts, away from your screen. You notice what you are feeling. You label it frustration, excitement, fear, boredom, urgency, and then you ask yourself one question. Is the feeling I am having right now a reason to deviate from my commitment? The answer is always no, always, because you made the commitment when you were calm, and feelings during the 9 trades are just noise. They are just your nervous system reacting to outcomes that, over a sample of 9, are statistically meaningless. Those 2 minutes of sitting will be the hardest part of the entire process. Harder than taking the loss, harder than watching a setup go without you. Because in those 2 minutes, you are choosing to do nothing when every fiber of your being is screaming at you to do something. And that choice, the choice to sit with discomfort without acting on it, is the fundamental skill of every consistently profitable trader who has ever lived. The fourth element is the post-reset evaluation. This is where the 9-trade reset becomes a diagnostic tool, not just a discipline exercise. After all 9 trades are complete, not after trade 5, not after trade 7, after all 9, you sit down and you evaluate. And you evaluate by answering 4 specific questions. First, how many of the 9 trades did I execute exactly as planned? Entry, stop, exit, all matching the pre-commitment contract. If the answer is 7 or fewer out of 9, the reset told you something critical. Your execution is the problem, not your strategy. You do not need a new approach. You need to run the 9-trade reset again because you have not yet demonstrated that you can follow your own rules consistently. Second of the trades I executed correctly. What was the distribution of wins and losses? This is the first time you look at outcomes, and you only look at outcomes for the trades that were executed properly. If 7 trades were executed correctly and 4 of them won, you have a 57% win rate on a properly executed sample. That is information. That tells you something about your edge. Third, how did my emotional state correlate with execution errors? Look at the trades where you deviated. Were you calm or anxious? Most traders discover a near-perfect correlation. Every execution error happened when their emotional state was elevated. And that tells you exactly where to focus. Not on the strategy, on the emotional management. Fourth, based on this 9-trade sample, do I have enough evidence to conclude that my strategy is fundamentally broken? And the honest answer, almost always, is no. 9 trades is not enough to condemn a strategy. It is enough to evaluate your discipline and to get a directional read on the strategy's viability. If you executed well and the results were poor, you might need to run another 9-trade block before making any strategic changes. If you executed poorly, the results are irrelevant. Run it again with better execution first. Now I want to address the objection you have been holding in the back of your mind this entire time. You are thinking 9 trades takes forever. If you are a swing trader, 9 trades might take 2 weeks. If you are a day trader on a slower time frame, it might take a week. And your impatience is screaming that you do not have time for this, that you need results now, that the market is moving, and you are falling behind. That impatience is the problem, that exact impatience. It is the reason you have cycled through strategies. It is the reason you have never let an edge prove itself. It is the reason you overtrade, overadjust, and overreact. The 9-trade reset is not just a method. It is a direct confrontation with your impatience. And surviving that confrontation, sitting with the discomfort of not knowing, of not acting, of letting the process unfold at its own pace, is the training that will make every other aspect of your trading better. There is a deeper layer to this entire process that I want you to understand, because without it, the 9-trade reset is just a technique, and techniques are fragile. The deeper layer is this. Every time you complete a 9-trade reset with discipline, you are not just evaluating your strategy. You are building an identity. You are becoming someone who follows through, someone who does not flinch at the first sign of discomfort, someone who trusts a process over a feeling. And that identity, the identity of a process-driven, probability-accepting, emotionally neutral trader, is worth more than any strategy you will ever find. Let me say that differently. The 9-trade reset could produce mediocre results every single time, and it would still be the most valuable practice in your trading because the person who emerges from it is fundamentally different from the person who started it. The results are a bonus. The real product is you. And this is where I want you to think about something practical. Most traders have no structured way to track the internal side of what happens during a block of trades like this. They track the P&L because that is easy. They might scribble some notes, but the emotional patterns, the moments of deviation, the correlation between their psychological state and their rule breaking that data gets lost, or it never gets recorded in the first place. That is the gap that the Speculator's Journal was built to fill, not just logging what you traded, but revealing the version of you that was doing the trading. The patterns you cannot see while you are inside them. The link is in the description. Now let me bring this to a close. The 9-trade reset is the edge nobody talks about because it does not look like an edge. It does not come with a chart pattern or a signal or a back-tested equity curve. It looks boring. It looks slow. It looks like the opposite of what a trader should be doing. And that is exactly why it works. Because the things that actually produce consistency in trading are boring. They are slow. They are the opposite of what your impulses demand. Here is your commitment. The next time you feel the urge to change your strategy, the next time a losing streak has you reaching for a new indicator, a new time frame, a new market stop, do not change anything. Instead, write a pre-commitment contract. Define 9 trades. Execute them with 100% fidelity to your existing plan. Track the 5 data points for each trade. Sit with the discomfort, complete the 9 trades, then evaluate. If your execution was clean and the results were poor, run another 9. If your execution was poor, run another 9 with a focus on the specific deviation. Do not change the strategy until you have at least 2 clean blocks of 9 trades to evaluate. That is 18 trades of disciplined execution before you earn the right to change anything. I know that sounds extreme, but let me ask you this. How many strategies have you abandoned after fewer than 18 trades? How many times have you concluded something was broken after 5 or 6 losses? The answer tells you everything about why you are where you are. Mark Douglas spent his life teaching that consistency is not about finding the right strategy, it is about becoming the right trader. The 9-trade reset is the fastest path I know to becoming that trader. Not because 9 trades will make you profitable, but because 9 trades executed with absolute fidelity will show you who you actually are under pressure. And once you see that clearly, once you see the patterns, the flinches, the moments where you abandon yourself, you cannot unsee it. And you cannot unbecome the person who chose to stay. That is the edge. Not a setup, not a signal, the willingness to stay with yourself long enough to find out what you are made of. Everything else flows from that. 9 trades, no modifications, no escape. Start today.